Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And Brandon, the summer is here. It sure came in with a lot of mugginess, though.
Well, I mean, hey, welcome to Memphis in the summer during tornado season.
Yeah, exactly. So, well,
let's just be honest. Tornado season never ends around here.
No, exactly. So, hey, real quick, we've got things to get to today. So, Max, you've got, what is this, like a show and tell type thing?
A little bit, but it's also just a little bit of a legend in geekdom, you might call it, too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's going to involve manga. It's going to be very educational, I would think. So, and I've got something. I guess this is another show and tell. I've got a book here, too. The comic book story of baseball. And before you tune out, folks, because it's not a sports show. I think this is going to overlap really nicely.
I was speaking with someone very recently who is a much wiser man than I, who said that when it comes down to it, no matter what you're into, you can get to a geeky level of it. And this definitely is the geeky level of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got a shout out or two that let's do those first, Brandon.
Okay, we can totally do the shout outs first.
I've got one and you've got one. So
wait, we both have one?
Yeah. But there's an art show coming up.
Okay, so which one do you want to take? Because
okay, well, let's just it doesn't matter. We're plugged. Okay, we got our buddy Lynn Workman has an art show coming up, and I think you got the poster in front of you. So
Featured Creatures, an art show by Lynn Workman, June 5th through August 2nd, 2026. It'll be at the Playhouse on the Square, up on their second floor gallery. Now, if you've ever seen Lynn's art runs the gamut. He can do
you can't really put him in a box because he does.
He can do the most realistic portraits you've ever seen in your life, but then he can also turn around and give you the most cartoony, just out there kind of setup. He does comic book art. He's done monster art. I think one of the things that's really cool about it is that if you look at the poster, it's a drive-in theater,
right?
Cartoony vehicles, everything else, but then the picture on the thing is the creature from the Black Lagoon, and Lynn does some just his black and white monster portraits are they're phenomenal.
Well, here's the thing about it too, folks, and we should say, because we've seen Lynn's work for the last 20 years, and he does a lot of airbrush. And what's interesting to me, though, is that these days, some of the AI-generated art from, like if you said, show me a picture of the monster, the creature from the Black Lagoon, it kind of looks, it's very polished. His work is so good that it almost looks AI generated, but it's not.
It's 100% not. In fact, I almost feel that I would say that because we know that AI kind of steals from artists that have put their work out there, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of the stuff you see has actually been cribbed from art that Lynn's put out there.
Yeah. And I will say too, check out Lynn's podcast, Drawing Funny. It's over. I listen off of Spotify, but you can find it, I think, most platforms. But I like it's very old school. But hey, if you want to know what's going on in the cartoonist world in the Mid-South, he covers everything. I mean, he doesn't miss anything. So, Lynn, good luck to you, sir.
I don't know how he fits especially when he does the where he's hitting everything that happens in Memphis, and when he's talking about it, it's like, we did this and we did that.
Right.
I don't know how he does enough, any of that without just being exhausted all the time.
Exactly.
Is he the one that does the thing where it's like sound bits all the time?
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
How does he find that?
I don't know. It looks like a lot of work. Max, when can we do that? Because I love those.
No.
It's very 1980s morning DJ radio type stuff. It's fun. I like it a lot.
We wouldn't have time in our segments if we just ate it up with all the sound bites.
It's like Crazy Ira in the douche. That's what it reminds me of.
I completely agree with Max. We do not have enough time to get out our thoughts, let alone the sound bites.
Okay, and then another, this is a salute, and I'm going to just call these guys out in a good way and say, Brandon, this is exactly what geekdom in the Mid-South needs.
And of course,
we don't need any more, I don't know what you want to say, non-cooperation or bad-mouthing of other people or
The
cash
divisiveness
grab.
needs to go away.
Right.
And these guys are probably the epitome of positivity
Yep.
when it comes to the geek community in Memphis, and that is the Beale Street Monster Club.
Yep.
They meet over at A. Schwab.
Give them a
Those guys,
round of applause.
absolutely.
They're good people, man,
Dude.
and they're young guys.
Yeah,
Mike,
and they're into all the classics. They just did a big Bigfoot show, or I don't know if we're allowed to say Bigfoot. I know
Why?
that there was some stuff back and forth about name changing and whatnot.
Oh,
but
Sasquatch.
All I know is that everybody I know who made it out to the show said it was great, and of course, they really do. I mean, they take care of you.
They're well researched too. If you invite these guys to do a panel at your event, they put in an effort. They're going to have a PowerPoint. They're going to have good quality stuff.
I want to say it was 2023 that they came out and did some really good panels for MCFC, and they were some of the most polished panels I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And for these guys to still be young and new in the community, dude, I can't wait to see where they go with it.
So what you're telling me is that if I wanted to have them present to me like a polished PowerPoint of like the demonology of like hell and everything, they could do it.
They
Probably.
know everything. They know. Okay, well, I'll tell you this,
Or
Max.
at least
they know
through cinema.
They know everything about the classic monsters. It's interesting. These are, it's a young guy.
Yeah.
And they just know, I don't know, details about the production that went into the original Frankenstein and all the nuts and bolts. You'd enjoy these guys, Max.
Because we did a whole segment about like the thing about the Wizard of Oz and everything. Like the funnest parts about some of these old films are the drama behind the scenes. Like, what did Boris Karloff have to go through with all the makeup?
Yeah, exactly. These guys know it all. So I don't. They just did, like you said, they did Bigfoot on Beale over at A. Schwab's. I know if you stay in touch with A. Schwab's and follow their Facebook page, you'll be able to stay in touch with the Beale Street Monster Club. But they're all over town. They're making a footprint, Brandon, a good one. And this is what geekdom in the Mid-South needs, man. So hats off to the Beale Street Monster Club. But hey, Max, I'm looking forward to this. You brought in a book. It's
Shintakarajima.
It's a unique book.
Gesundheit.
Okay. And so Max is going to share that with us when we come back, and we're going to learn all about the history of manga.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. David Hasselhoff's lawyers are waiting outside. The Geek Patrol is back.
I'm not giving back that kit, Max, so forget it. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And Max, you brought us in something that you want to share.
And now, a legend in geekdom.
And rightfully so.
This really is, isn't it? I mean, this is...
We're going back to 1947.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk about the history of manga. While, yes, manga technically goes back farther than 1947, 1947 represents the birth of the modern manga with Osamu Tezuka, who's often considered the godfather of manga. He's essentially like the Walt Disney over in Japan.
Hey, Max, real quick, though. Somebody, we get new listeners, and maybe they don't even know what a manga is. It's just Japanese comic books, right?
Japanese comics, essentially, yes.
There you go.
But what's interesting is that Japanese comics originally evolved from what you might call like a 4-panel like slapstick comedy and everything to Tezuka kind of launched it as a valid storytelling medium and everything. And because this is even more impressive considering the fact that it's 2 years after World War II and the Japanese economy is essentially tanked.
Well, and we saw what everything was in ruins.
I think Godzilla -1 actually portrayed Japan's economy in a very accurate light, despite having a kaiju in it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It looked pretty. That's what made that movie so good.
Is the human aspect of it.
Right.
But getting back to manga, Osamu Tezuka, what makes his work even more impressive, a little bit of backstory. He actually was a medical student at the time, and he was only like maybe in his early 20s. Because he was born in 1928. And this came out in 1947.
So, yeah, he is a young guy.
And so, yeah, he technically dabbled in, like, the 4-panel slapstick comedy manga and everything. back in a year earlier, but he elevated it by releasing what's called Shintakarajima, which means New Treasure Island in Japanese, and I actually have it with me today. And what I like about this is that in addition to actually having like storytelling take place over like 180 pages and everything, it also what I like about Tezuka's style and everything is that it's very I like how he's very good at drawing animals. Like he's good at making animals look very expressive, for example, like right here. Like this there's a dog that's kind of like panting and everything, has a very vivid face to it and everything that I really enjoy.
His work is clean.
It's very Disney-esque and everything.
It does not look at 80 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not at all.
It doesn't really look 80 years old at all, but like you see how right here and everything, like how it has 4 panels next page, 4 panels next page.
Yeah.
It had to start somewhere, and so it kind of looked a little bit quote unquote primitive like that and everything, as opposed to modern manga and modern comics and everything that don't really follow conventional paneling and everything, like frames and everything, because it's like you might have panels that intersect with each other, or like bigger, smaller, rounder, or whatever. But it had to start somewhere, and it started with Tezuka. And going beyond like the art and everything, one thing I appreciate about his work, for those who aren't familiar with Osamu Tezuka, you probably know him if you grew up with watching Astro Boy back in the day as a kid.
Oh, totally.
Wait, did you watch that? I never watched that.
Dude, Astro Boy is amazing.
And it's one of those things where it shows where Tezuka shines, because one of the things that he really wanted to do in his lifetime but really didn't get to, because manga hadn't become as mainstream and it was still sort of on the fringe. He really wanted to use the medium to address mature content, so to say. So his stuff looks really lighthearted and everything, but if you really dig down to the nitty-gritty of some of the work that he does, not only in this, but like he really wanted to like address, like even in this book itself and everything, it addresses things like environmentalism, like the troubles of nationalism, like, and the loss of innocence that comes from being a child and everything, like, because this kid, essentially it follows the story of a boy named Pete whose dad passes away, and he sees a map and everything, and he befriends one of his dad's friends who's a captain of a ship, who's like, all right, we're going to go try to find this treasure island and everything. So he's honoring the legacy of his dead dad. That's already sort of a mature theme to have in a slapstick manga sort of style thing. And then it goes on to talk about things like environmentalism, because there's essentially like a Tarzan character who started off his life, like because he was a kid that got shipwrecked on the island and everything. And then it kind of goes to the loss of innocence and everything at the very end, because towards the end of it, you kind of realize that there are certain repercussions that the Pete's actions have that are sort of mature and everything, that kind of or sort of real world that he didn't necessarily intend. And so I really like how Tezuka from the get-go and everything was trying to address mature themes in a very lighthearted and childish medium.
Well, haven't we said all along, like, if you're out there and you just say, I'm not interested in anime or anything like that, we've said all along that one of the strengths of a lot of Japanese storytelling is no matter what it is, I don't care if it's One Punch Man or Attack on Titan, they find ways to flesh out the characters where you care about them, man. And it's gripping.
And the thing is that you have so many naysayers who immediately go, oh, I'm not into anime, because they immediately think it's Dragon Ball or Akira or something like that. But, we've seen that it runs the gamut from rom-coms to historical period pieces to your action kaiju types. There is no monolith when it comes to anime. If there's a type of story that you like,
right,
somewhere out there is an anime for you.
It's a vehicle to tell a story, not necessarily like a genre as a whole.
Exactly.
Here's what's super interesting to me, Max, because if I'm doing my math correctly, he would have just missed. How do you pronounce his name again? The author.
Hayao Miyazaki.
No, for Shintakarajima.
Oh, Shintakarajima, Tezuka.
Okay, well, he would have just missed being drafted into service for the war, right? But he would have been surrounded by people that were drafted, and he would have seen all of the, everything that happened in World War II to his country and everything. And it's interesting to me that if you would consider him like the godfather of manga, that that element is still permeates today, man. I don't know. Like that's part of the roots of manga is his sensibilities.
Yeah, and not only that, but the fact that he worked in medicine or was a medical student, he probably was definitely immersed in soldiers and their trauma.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to learn more about this when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
I don't know what elderberries smell like. It might not be the worst thing in the world.
I know why that it's an ancient insult, but that's a story for another day.
Okay. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And Max, this is really interesting. You know, I love learning things on the air as we're speaking, and it never occurred to me that this first manga that you brought in, it's kind of a show and tell. Max brought in a reprinting of Shintakarajima, printed in 1947, and is cutesy. It looks ahead of its time, Max, but there are things that are established in this first manga that I think continue in anime today.
Like the presence of violence, even if it's cutesy.
Yeah, like real violence.
There we go.
But the author wrote this in 1947 when he was 19, and I think his life experience is very relevant to why manga has become what it is. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Because not only that too, but there's a certain level of desperation, you might say, to his work. Because if you're a manga artist, in addition to like a medical student, there's a level of desperation living in an economy that was just recently bombed 2 years ago and everything. And so he might have literally been just a starving artist and doing it for the sake of the passion of it.
Okay, wait a minute. I didn't even think of this part. He's a medical student, and he's got to come up with stories and do all of the artwork. And in an economy where there's really no money, when does a guy sleep?
Exactly.
Gosh, it's like
it also kind of establishes the modern symptom of many manga artists and everything. The reason so many die early is because they're so burned out.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No wonder it took who was the artist for Attack on Titan? It took him like 12 years to finish.
Oh, I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. Hayashi.
Right.
Something Hayashi. I can't remember.
Anyway, so all right. Well, Max, did you have any parting thoughts about this?
Well, one thing I wanted to say real quickly is I kind of like the sudden twist that occurs with certain apparent threats in this manga. Like, for example, there's this big, bad, deadly shark and everything that, like everyone fears them and everything. But as soon as it meets a human and everything of equal or superior power, all of a sudden it just looks like it's scared and everything. And I just really like the idea of like, all of a sudden it kind of reminds me what I like about Guillermo del Toro's work, where the real monsters actually end up being the humans inside, because it's interesting to think that something as deadly as a shark might all of a sudden become scared of us and everything if presented with a proper scenario. And I just really like the idea of utilizing a medium like manga and everything to tell things that are disarmingly profound.
Huh. I don't know. Now that's interesting too, because I was just thinking in 1947, what did we know about sharks? This is before Jaws came out, and we wouldn't have had good looks at sharks, right? Unless you a shark fisherman or something, but
there's a lot of World War II shark attack stories.
That's true. Yeah. So, okay.
So those of us that are just out and about, we'd probably just see them as, monsters.
Well, I would say, folks, and I'm assuming, Max, you can get this in English, right? I think I asked you that.
Yeah, you already asked that.
You can, but like I said, it's nothing really to ever really write home about and everything. It's more of an historical artifact for an otaku like me that might want to read it in the original Japanese. But if someone's interested in reading, if someone's a big Osamu Tezuka fan and wants to see where it all started, so to say, it's worthwhile, because not only that, but this edition also comes with some of even his earlier and later stuff as well, like his 4-panel slapstick comedy stuff that he started with. And so he never really got away from his roots, but he still expanded the medium to grow to what it is today.
All right. This is good stuff, Max. So, well, let's shift gears. because this is still in the realm of visual storytelling,
Right.
Brandon, which is okay. For my birthday, my wife bought me she was trying to get something unique that, whatever, that I don't have. She was at the bookstore, and she came across this thing called The Comic Book Story of Baseball.
Okay.
It's 120 something pages. It's a graphic novel.
Right.
It's the best. It's okay. For one thing, it's easy. It's a comic book form.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back, and it gives you the the history of baseball, which actually can go back. You could even say the Native Americans had a role in it. There's a lot of people that compete over who actually invented it, but
Like
it goes
Cartwright.
back. Right. And so they were definitely playing baseball during the Civil War.
Okay. I mean,
you
we're just gonna go ahead and say Dave did it.
Yeah. But Brandon, I thought it
don't
was
bite.
more what was the most interesting part of this. It was really good. And then, of course, the very last page of the book is it shows the scoreboard at Wrigley Field for the Cubs finally winning the World Series after a 108-year drought, which was pretty awesome.
So, of course, you fanboyed.
Right.
You fanboyed hard.
And it covers a lot of important moments in baseball history. But, Brandon, the bigger thing was you flip the book over on the back, and, there's always reviews and stuff.
Right.
Well, the professionals in sport, like all the Sports Illustrated, like the ESPN guys and the Sports Illustrated people and people that's what they do for a living is talk about sports. They said this is their favorite summary and their favorite presentation of baseball history they've ever seen. And I thought that is worthy of a discussion. So it's like,
I was just thinking of something.
Yeah.
What if graphic novels are the answer to our low attention spans as humans? We tend to consume things like, let's just find a video on YouTube. That's sort of a definition of our low attention span to sit down and actually read and expound upon something. Well, I think a good gateway and a good compromise is the realm of graphic novels, because some of the most profound stories could be told with having like pictures in front of you, but also narrative, like dialogue and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna marry the two subjects. Joe, when was the last time you watched the movie Major League?
Oh, well, I mean,
Now remember,
I watched it about 2 years ago.
right? Well, remember though,
The second one's funnier, though.
When Tom Berenger's trying to woo Rene Russo back, and she asked him when was the last time you were at a book, and then you see him reading illustrated classics.
Yeah.
Comic books of classic literature, which were used back in those days, back in the olden days, to get the boys what would have been the ADHD kids back then.
Right.
That you could get boys to learn more about classical literature through visual entertainment.
All right, well, let's unpack the power of the graphic novel when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
I hate these nerds. Just 'cause I'm stupider than them, they think they're smarter than me.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmsted and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, real quick, we wanted to remind you that our buddy Lynn Workman has a show over at Playhouse in the Square. It's in the upstairs gallery, running from June 5th to August 2nd. It's all about monsters, right?
Well, it's called Featured Creatures.
Right. That's his thing. He does photorealism. I mean, his art looks almost fake sometimes because it's so perfect.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but it's real, folks. He did it all with an airbrush.
Yeah, Lynn, how dare you be as good as you are?
Yeah, and we gave a shout out to the Beale Street Monster Club. If you're not familiar with them, go find them on Facebook and follow all their or whatever social media you prefer,
Right.
and follow their adventures. But then Max brought in the first modern manga, and you had it in the original Japanese,
Correct.
and then I was talking about my comic book story of baseball that my wife got me for my birthday. And Brandon, it led to a bigger thing of visual storytelling and the power of the graphic novel. Because I'll tell you, I'll admit this. There was a period in my life, all I was reading was comic books. I don't know about you. Okay, and as an adult, that was my thing. I wanted to read comic books. So
there was something about a graphic novel that sucks you in.
yeah,
We always tell ourselves, it's like, well, I don't have time for this, and I don't have time for that. We really should take the time out to read, as much as we can. And sometimes, that the idea of just sitting down with a novel, especially if you're one of those people who's always on the go.
Right.
You're like, oh, I really don't want to do this. So, you get an Audible subscription so you can, consume that way. But there's just something different from audiobooks as well as, actual novels when you sit down and you crack open like the Three Jokers Part 1.
Right.
And,
right.
And immediately you get a big splash page. You've got a full-on story going on, but there's just something that grabs you, and then next thing you know, it's 2 hours later, and you've been through an entire stack of comics.
Exactly.
Because it's almost like looking at it like a panel of art and everything. Like it's like if you watch like a really well drawn like movie and everything, like animated movie. Like you almost want to pause each frame because each frame is a work of art. Because it's like as you're reading and everything, yes, you're also getting good dialogue, but you're also getting like pretty artwork and everything. That's the one thing. Kind of going back to what I was reading is that because I would have to translate each page and everything, it made me kind of force me to kind of look at the art as I was going and everything. And it makes you realize that an author who's making like a graphic novel or a comic and everything puts as much work in the dialogue as they do with the art and the panel themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. And let's just be honest. Sometimes when it comes to a regular, like let's say a Tolkien novel,
right,
the description in there can sometimes bring out the best visual in your head, but it also kind of feels like a slog sometimes when you're reading the description of the cloudscape or the the Shire or something like that. It brings about this beauty, but it almost makes you not want to reread it because you're just like, all right, I got the visual.
Right.
All right, I'm going to spend 3.5 hours reading about the description of really cool things, but 2.5 minutes on a fight scene.
Right.
And there's something about, just having it all, right there in the midst of a splash page from a graphic novel or a comic book.
That needs to be a Tolkien, like for any relatives of J.R.R. Tolkien that happen to be listening to this show, consider a collaboration with like a local Brit. I'm a graphic novelist and everything to condense the descriptions and everything into art form, and then just leave the dialogue from like Aragorn and Gandalf or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a graphic novel version of the Lord of the Rings for us.
Now, at the same time, I don't want to disparage any of our friends who literally live, eat, and breathe, novels.
Right.
Because, that you guys are awesome too. We all consume our art in different ways, but there's sometimes the easiest way to get, especially a young male mind, into literature is to bring it to them graphically.
But the thing is, you don't have to pit one against the other.
No.
You absorb a novel differently than you absorb a graphic novel. But I will say, folks, if you're out there, one of the ones I think does it better than it doesn't do it, but it's noteworthy for how good it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. This is probably 1991 or 92 when it was a 5-part series of Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, the one where he got hooked on Venom.
Yes.
You remember that? That is
dude.
an exceptionally, because the visuals are great and the
It's an
visuals
emotional
told
roller
as
coaster.
much as the words did.
And it does.
And the art is great.
You kind of come out of reading that, you feel a little traumatized because you were on that journey with him.
Max, I think I showed you it's the one where Batman's all scruffy and he's got a beard.
One thing I liked about that particular story was he said that he wasn't wearing his bat suit because it just didn't feel right.
Right. So, folks, it's kind of a little spoiler, but it's a really and it's the beginning. It's the beginning of like things like the character of Bane and everything.
Yeah.
But it's basically Batman can't save this drowning girl, and he's regretting that he's not strong enough to do these things. So the scientist gives him this wonder drug that makes him stronger, but it also makes him more aggressive. And he gets
addicted.
He gets hooked, and it's really cool. It's a really great story, but the visuals are just as important as the words in that story.
Brandon, what I really like about what you said is like when you come out of it, you feel traumatized. And so I think the best stories can kind of make you feel the same things as the characters are experiencing, even if it's just on print or if it's just, visually or audio visually. Like, for example, I'm watching this one anime right now and everything where it's like 8 parts because parts in this one arc because it's like they're stuck in a time loop and everything.
Right.
And so it might seem like a cheap way of filling 8 episodes, but what's cool is it makes you feel almost that sort of sense of desperation and stuckness that the main characters felt too.
I think that right there shows you the power of a good writer or illustrator or animator.
Yeah.
Or even a live action actor. I mean, if they can get you to where you feel what the characters are going through. And I don't know how best to end that, but because the words aren't coming to me right now.
Well,
because,
let's just say visual storytelling and graphic novels can be very powerful. So,
Yes.
All right, we got to go, you guys. The show's over. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Maximilian.
And I am Brandon Olmstead, hoping that we never end up evoking our feelings on you.